Hi, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I'm not relatable. So today I actually wanted to talk about a fellow creator, someone who's only loosely affiliated with the Hater Nation. You guys might know her. Her name is Chikara Transformations. I don't know what her non-online name is. I'm not familiar enough with her channel. Now, I think I've watched a couple of her videos here and there. She's not my style, but to each their own. She seems like a knowledgeable individual. For a quick background, she's a personal trainer and bodybuilder. I think she's a former bodybuilder. I'm not 100% sure if she's still doing it. I know she's mentioned a couple times in her live stream that she is trying to conceive, and so she's given that up. I don't know if that's temporary, permanent, like I said, loosely know about her. And on YouTube, she does a lot of eating challenges and reactions. So I know there is some drama between her and Charlie Gold and another channel by the name of The Gaining Ground. I am a grown woman and I don't spend all of my time on Twitter. So I have genuinely no idea what's happening. I kind of know like vaguely something about her commenting on, I think, Callie's wig, and then Charlie got mad at that. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that because I genuinely don't know about that particular situation. The Gaining Ground situation I'm a little bit more familiar with, and my only comment to that would be I hope she's not aligning herself with channels like Peanut and Fatty Gold and a lot of these other channels that are just thinly veiled racism. Because as white people, you don't get to determine what is and is not racist. So if somebody, especially somebody of color, is telling you, hey, I understand that you might not see it this way, but this is racist, it's in your best interest to be like, okay, I see that. If you think that that's racist, then as someone who has not been affected by racism, I'm going to keep my opinions to myself and rely on your expertise in this. That's all I'm going to say on that. I watch Charlie Gold and On Program Situation pretty regularly. Charlie, I haven't seen everything by, but I think Val's channel, I've watched the entire catalog. I really enjoy her personality. She's very quirky. I think I've subscribed to her second channel as well, and I've pretty much loved every video she's put out. It's her personality that keeps me there, not anything else. A lot of commentary, especially the reactions in the Hater Nation, tend to sort of start running together, and they all have similar things to say, myself included, I'm sure. But Val's personality is very unique to me, and I think she's very, very entertaining. So I watch pretty much anything she'll put out. So recently she did a live stream. I think it was maybe like a week and a half ago. And it caught my eye. I watched it significantly after she'd first put it up. Like I said, I don't watch a lot of her videos, so they don't generally tend to come up in my recommended. This video that she did, this live that she did, was called Let's Talk My Failed Hair, Charlie Gold versus Foodie Beauty, and On Program Situation, Carb Loading. And I wanted to talk about it because this behavior that she displays in this video, I found A, problematic, but B, it's what I found from a lot of fitness, a lot of bodybuilders, and just general health people online. For a little personal background, I am a lady. I know some people who've left me mean comments have doubts about that. I am genetically female. I also identify as female. And I have had some challenges with my weight pretty much my entire life. I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Some of you might be aware of that. It makes it a little bit harder for you to lose weight. And part of that was just in the beginning, I didn't know how to manage it. The rest of it had difficulty managing it. But I've been pretty good about keeping my weight in a pretty healthy range for the most part. I had some health complications about a year ago. And because of those complications, I ended up gaining weight. And I'm still trying to, work that weight off. But I've never been what you would consider super skinny, right? I've never been underweight or even closer to that end of the spectrum than to the overweight spectrum. And I've lived in the overweight kind of area for the majority of my life. I always tend to be at least a little bit over. And so I wanted to talk about that from my point of view of how it feels to have that kind of dogmatic thinking, that kind of dogmatic view of weight loss pushed onto other people. I'm going to cut the majority of the drama portions out from this video. Like I said, I don't know enough about it. My opinions on that are not important. If you want to watch her original video, go right ahead. I'll try and make sure I remember to link it down below. I'm also going to throw up stats whenever I have them. Any information that I have, I will try and put everything up on screen. I guess they're kind of receipts too, but mostly it's just that you know that my information is not just stuff I'm saying, it's also backed by science.
And here we go. Here we have our fitness queen walking a total of 7 miles a day. Good for you. Good for you. That's pretty normal for most people. And also, if you walk 7 miles a day, why are you still overweight? Significantly.
All right, the first issue that she takes is Charlie Gold and Charlie Gold's claims that she walked 7 miles. She put up a little screen grab from an app, I'm guessing, that records how many miles you've walked. She said she walked 7 miles. That's fantastic. And Chikara Transformation, from now on I'll just call her Chikara. I'm not sure what her name is, but it's a mouthful to say any other way. Chikara goes on to say, well, you know, that's about what most people do. It is not. In the United States, most people walk between 1,500 and 2,000 steps. That is about 1.5 to 2 miles, give or take. That's nowhere near 7 miles. 7 miles is a very, very good amount for people to walk. Now, maybe that's different where she's from. She has a little bit of an accent, sounds European to me. And maybe where she lives, you know, it's entirely possible that people do walk that much. But you're not talking about somebody who lives where you live. You're talking about somebody in the United States. If you're commenting on how much they walk, then you should know how much the rest of the country does. 7 miles is a hefty amount. For somebody who's overweight, like Charlie is, that's actually a pretty legitimate workout. She is essentially, for a normal person, she's walking with weights on her back, carrying like an extra 50, 60, however many pounds it is. That is an impressive thing for most people to do. And then she goes on to sort of dismiss how much Charlie walks because, well, Charlie is still massively overweight. So it doesn't matter how much Charlie walks because if she is actually doing everything she needs to, she wouldn't be overweight. The thing about being overweight is that you don't gain weight in 1 month, 1 year, even 2 years, 3 years. For most people, it's a slow progression over time. Most people tend to gain their weight. They're heavier in childhood, you know, they're okay as babies. As they get older, they get more and more and more unhealthy. And that's the problem, I think, that Chikara is not recognizing. You gain the weight over your entire lifetime. You're not going to lose it in 1, 2, 3, 4 years, depending on how much weight you have. More importantly, sustainable weight loss is a very, very different thing. So the CDC actually has guidelines on how much weight you should be losing for it to be considered sustainable weight loss, regardless of what weight you are. Because if you try and change your habits very drastically and all in one go, get rid of everything bad that you're eating, some people can do this, but science has shown us that willpower is a very finite thing. That means that if you're making massive, massive changes, you're not going to be able to keep them up for very long. A better way of doing it is actually gentle nutrition. It's thinking of adding rather than subtracting from what you're eating. A good way to do this would be, say you're making yourself a burrito, right? And rather than just making it meat and cheese and beans, you think to yourself, you know, why don't I add a little veggies in there? Why don't I add a little veggie in there, you know? Put in some sauteed peppers, put in some sauteed onions, add a little bit of guacamole in there, you know, and vary your diet that way. Maybe I can serve it with a side of like a little taco style salad. And all of a sudden you'll find that you'll want to eat just one burrito rather than the 2 or 3 you were planning on eating before. Because the addition of the vegetables in there and the vegetables you're eating on the side will actually aid you. And so thinking of it as adding rather than subtracting, and as making mild, small changes over time is what's going to keep that lifestyle sustainable to you after you've lost the weight. Losing weight is actually not the hardest part. Most people can lose weight to some degree. It's keeping it off that's the problem. And by doing what Chikara apparently wants, for you to lose all of your weight in a very short period of time, it's not going to be sustainable. What's the point of weight loss if all you're going to end up doing is yo-yoing? I would have assumed that Chikara Transformations would have known that. I would have assumed that as a trainer, she's probably worked with people who've experienced this yo-yo dieting and, you know, just having difficulty keeping the weight off or even just losing weight to begin with. And I'm not saying that she has to like Val personally, or Charlie Gold personally, but she does have to respect what they are doing. Both of them are working. They're working their butts off from what I can see, quite literally, and they're losing weight. They're just doing it slowly, which is what I think all of the girls in the Amberverse should be doing as well.
Tell me, what's the difference? Where's the weight loss guys? Where is our fitness queen? Which they're all random, so they're not in numerical order. But am I seeing a change? Are you? I'm not really. She kind of looks the same to me.
She shows this little compilation of Charlie's thumbnails from her videos and says, you know, I've jumbled them all up. Can you tell a difference between them? Well, if you jumble them all up, especially if weight loss is gradual, it'll be very hard to tell. I'm going to show you, rather than a slow progression, Charlie's oldest videos from about a year ago when she started posting regularly to the newest one that she has now. And I want you to look at her face and tell me if you can't see a difference. Because to me, personally, I think there's a huge difference. Her cheekbones, for one, are significantly more pronounced. I'm also going to throw up the pictures that Charlie Gold put up, her before and afters for her weight loss from Twitter on screen. So you guys can take a look at it yourself and let me know what you think. Another thing that the CDC has mentioned is modest weight loss. Not everyone is going to lose a significant amount of weight and just become like skinny minis and, you know, just be Instagram model pretty. That's not going to happen for most of us. For most of us, it's about losing enough weight so that we are healthier for the most part, right? Losing 10 pounds for someone who is 200 pounds can mean a world of difference. It can be the difference between having heart problems and not having heart problems, having high blood pressure and not having high blood pressure. So by dismissing how much weight these two ladies have made, Chikara is essentially saying, well, if you're not going to be able to do it 100%, don't bother doing it at all. That seems extremely counterproductive. Given her credentials as a trainer, I'm surprised to hear her express such views. The CDC states that you should aim to lose between 1 and 2 pounds a year, 2 on the very high end. That means that in a year, at most, you should try and lose about 100 pounds. But that's assuming that everything goes exactly perfect. For someone who has extreme weight issues, it's generally accompanied by mental health issues as well. So by stating that you should have lost 100 pounds at least this year, that implies that they should have been perfect 100% of the time. You're not accounting for any of the other factors. People aren't machines. People are people. We're human beings. We have setbacks. We have failures. There are holiday get-together and family parties that we want to attend. There are things that we want to do with friends where food's involved. Or sometimes we just had a really shit day and we eat an entire pizza. It happens. It happens to everybody. It happens to the best of us. And Chikara herself admits that she eats fast food every once in a while. But by saying that fat people should be held to the standard of, well, they should have lost 100 pounds, it implies that they should have been perfect all of the time. That's an impossibility. It's an impossibility for anyone. And for someone who has eating problems, someone who has emotional eating issues, that's even harder. Not everyone who's trying to lose weight can afford to go to therapy, or they can't afford to go as often as they would like. Sometimes you'd like to go weekly, but you can only afford to go once a month. All of those things have to be kept in consideration. The fact that they're making headway, the fact that they're moving towards that goal is something to be commended in and of itself. Dismissing that makes your argument of weight loss weaker, not stronger. More importantly, if you're extremely heavy, it can be very hard to actually tell if you've lost weight. I would say Amberlynn Reid is a very good example of this. She's lost about 100 pounds, give or take, right now. And if you would look at her, you can barely tell a difference. I think that a casual observer might not be able to tell a difference at all. The reason for that is that when you're that overweight, it takes a while before it really shows. You might be able to tell in your clothes more than anything else. But as far as your face goes, as far as your arms go, it can be a little difficult. All in all, what I'm trying to say is, don't push women or anybody really to be thin for aesthetic reasons. It should always be for your health. Aesthetics vary from person to person. What people like when they see in the mirror varies from person to person. Health is not objective. By trying to make it seem like the only kind of weight loss that's good is a perfect weight loss journey, and it's the extremes of weight loss, you are dismissing the fact that people can have moderate weight loss and still make amazing gains in their health. As a personal trainer, that should always be your end goal.
I have actually contacted Chantal and both Amberlynn privately before, so a couple of times, and I've always offered to help them. Amberlynn didn't respond, Chantal did, and I've never mentioned it. I've never mentioned it because I don't see the point in doing so. But the point is that I come from a place of actually wanting people to do better and wanting to help people. And yeah, sometimes I am blunt and sometimes I am nitpicky. I get that. I've really changed a lot, so I am trying. I'm coming from a place of genuinely wanting to help people because this is what I do. I help people out. I get people fit and healthy.
I believe her. When she says that she just wants people to do better and that she's trying to help people, I 100% believe her. I don't think she would have gotten into this field of work if she didn't feel that way. And she's given me no reason to believe otherwise. But if she wants to do that in a capacity on YouTube as well, which is what she's essentially claiming, right? That she knows what she's talking about because she's a trainer, therefore influencing her audience to also listen to her advice in terms of weight loss and health, then she needs to show that compassion to all people on YouTube, not just the ones that she personally likes. By dismissing the gains that people are making, especially people that you don't like are making, and trying to paint them with an inaccurate brush, all you end up doing is making yourself look bad. That's it. And I think it fundamentally tarnishes what you want to do, which I think is to help people at large lose weight, to help people at large be healthier. If people can just point to parts of your argument and say, hey, why should I listen to her? Look at these ladies. They're trying their hardest. They're losing weight. And all Chikara has to say about them is negative things. It's very easy to dismiss the rest of your arguments as well. I understand that that's a straw man, but that's how most people think. Most people suffer from black and white thinking. That's why if your aim really is to help people and to help them do better and feel better and lose weight, then you need to be better than that. You need to make your arguments better than that. You need to make the opposite of a straw man. I think the term is an Iron Man, but I might also just be thinking of the comics. To do so otherwise, to dismiss the accomplishments of women that you don't like simply because you don't like them, makes you seem disingenuous and makes your information seem like misinformation, even when it's not. So there's a lot more that she discussed regarding, Foodie Beauty and Charlie Gold. And if you guys really want me to dig into it, I can, but that's not what this video is. So I'm gonna dismiss that. Now, on to on-program situation.
I watched one on-program situation. I watched her vlog. What kind, she has a team of people helping her out. What kind of education do these people have? Is it from the school of, no, feelings matter more than fucking facts? Because I would sack her, the people that are dieting her, I would sack them. I watched her food, her week of eating. She eats more fast food in a week than I do in a whole year. And that's not me power leveling. I eat fast food too. I eat crisps and stuff like that too. I don't eat them every fucking day though. Which dietitian is okay with you eating bad food every single day?
First, she says that Val should find herself a new team because the current team apparently is not giving her accurate health information. I feel like I say this all the time, but you are not qualified to make that determination. You are a personal trainer, and I would take your advice on matters regarding my physical fitness any day of the week. But when it comes to my mental health, when it comes to my weight loss, those are not your fields of expertise. You are not a psychiatrist, you are not a therapist, you are not a weight loss doctor. You are not any one of these professionals that Val is actually working with. You're not a dietitian. So to come here and say, you should do this because I said so, no. You don't have the authority to say that. I don't have the authority to say that. Even if you had all of the qualifications necessary, Val is not your patient. She has not spoken to you personally. She has not confided in you anything. You can't diagnose her from minimal amounts of information that you have on her through the internet. She's also stated in videos before that she has both fatty liver disease and that she's had a problem history with eating. Her plan might not look the pinnacle of health to an average person, but that's what she needs. It's more than likely a transitionary plan. You don't go from 0 to 100 in no time. For most people, turning around their eating habits takes a lot of time, effort, and energy. And the best way to make sure that it sticks is to do it slowly. You make little changes here and there, and when those little changes become habits, you make more little changes. That's how you make sure that they continue those habits going forward and they don't relapse and they don't gain all the weight back. To give this advice to your audience it's irresponsible. That's all I can say, you know? If someone is watching this and they've had a dietitian and they've had a doctor and they've given them this advice that, hey, you know, this is how you should be eating. It's fine if you want to eat a meal out. It's fine if you want to eat a meal out for every day, if that's one meal and if you're choosing healthier options. And they look at this and they think, well, this person's obviously wrong. I trust Chikara. She knows what she's talking about. I mean, look at her amazing gains. Look at her fantastic physique and her impressive muscles. She does know what she's talking about. My doctors must be quacks. They quit taking this advice and they stopped making any progress towards sustainable weight loss and sustainable change. I don't know if that's happening, but the fact that it could should be enough to give you pause.
So we were going back and forth and he was telling me what to eat and he was telling me what kinds of foods I like because he didn't want me to eat things I didn't like, obviously. So he didn't mention anything of fruits and vegetables, not a single thing. And for some reason that shocked me because I feel like a good nutritional diet is to have fruits and vegetables. But he kept going off on something else when he was trying to like tell me what I was supposed to eat throughout the day. And for some reason, I even said this in the video before, he kept forgetting to tell me about like what I should eat for dinners. And so finally, like 3 different times, I was just like, so yeah, you didn't tell me what I have to do for dinner. And I felt kind of annoying, but like, that was the thing. That was why I went there. He was supposed to, you know, tell me these things. He looked at me and he's like, so what do you think you should eat for dinner? And before I could even say anything, Becky was sitting and she was like, I'm thinking like chicken. He was like, exactly, you know, just a piece of meat. You can even go to McDonald's and have cheeseburgers if you wanted, just take off the bun. But he wasn't mentioning like fruits and vegetables, and for some reason that just like surprised me for some reason. So I was like, well, do I have, you know, stuff on the side? Do I have like veggies or whatever, like broccoli? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. But he was like, make sure you don't have a lot of it because it's filled with tons of carbs. And I was just like, okay. For some reason in my gut kind of twisted a bit. You know how like when you should trust your instinct, trust your gut and your heart and what that says? I was like, okay, so he'd rather me eat, I'm not saying anything's wrong with like bacon and stuff, like have that in moderation, of course, but he would rather me eat like sodium-filled beef jerky, and he'd rather me go to McDonald's and have a cheeseburger over broccoli. For some reason, that like churned me, like in my stomach. It like made me feel...
All she ate was simple carbohydrates. Literally, her food haul and her diet is simple carbohydrates. A little bit of fruit, okay, fair enough. A little bit of vegetables, fair enough. Otherwise, it's just takeout, processed. No wonder you're not losing weight. Maybe try and eat some protein. Eat some lean protein with a salad. See if that has success.
And once more, she's losing weight. She's losing weight, so why should it matter if she's getting out options every once in a while? And more importantly, she's getting healthier options for the most part when she does go out. One of the meals that Chikara had a problem with was a salad that she got from Taco Bell. Yeah, probably could have done it at home, or hell, not even gotten the salad, but that doesn't mean that there was anything inherently wrong with the salad itself. Another thing that she talks a lot about is processed foods, that she eats so much processed foods. There is a fallacy in thinking. It's called the appeal to nature fallacy that Chikara is currently promoting. Processed does not equal bad. Unprocessed does not equal good, right? Tofu is processed food. Tofu is very good for you. Raw kidney beans are unprocessed food. Raw kidney beans are toxic. So it's not a one-to-one equation. There's actually a pretty interesting article from Harvard that I'll put up on the screen. I can link it down below as well if you want to go and you can read it. And they talk about how unprocessed isn't always better. that's not something that you can just say ad nauseum and insist that it's true. Thinking that way is incorrect in and of itself.
My eating disorder, maybe she has an eating disorder, I don't know. I had eating disorders also, but you need to, abstaining from food is not a bad thing sometimes. You need to, restriction in moderation is not a bad thing. To me, having bad food every single day is not moderation.
Once more, she's being very dismissive. Well, my eating disorder. I'm sorry, but who gave you the right to decide what is and is not an eating disorder? Just because you've had experience with one eating disorder doesn't mean you've had experience with all of them. And just because you were able to overcome yours doesn't mean that someone else is going to be able to do it. And more importantly, every person's treatment plan is different, especially when it comes to mental health. And I don't understand that even if it's not something you understand, why you can't give her that grace. I would hope that you would expect that kind of grace for yourself, that if someone came to you and said, well, look at you, you've got, all of these muscles, you're obviously fine, so you must have been faking your eating disorder for internet clout. That would feel pretty terrible. I am not saying that. I would like to make that abundantly clear. If she says it, that she had an eating disorder, then I believe her. But that also means that you need to give other people that same kind of grace, because you don't know. Once more, you are not her doctor, you are not her dietitian, and more importantly, you're not even her personal trainer. You don't have any relationship to this person. You can't make claims like that and say that, well, I know best, because you have personal experience with it. Anecdotal evidence is the weakest form of evidence. More importantly, anecdotal evidence is not universal. That's why you can't extrapolate from your own experiences. That's why people conduct studies, so that you can have an objective opinion. You can have an objective set of facts on whether or not something is true. Especially when it comes to mental health, stuff like this can vary. Treatment plans especially can vary. And moderation looks different for every person. If I take 2 bites of a cake and I say, I'm good, that might look like moderation to you. It is not to me. I don't like sweet foods. So it's very easy for me to say, hey, thank you, I'm good. But present me with a box of fries, and I'm probably not gonna be quite so shorthanded with them, right? I love me a good starch. So moderation for me would mean eating only a handful of fries, but eating an entire slice of cake. It could mean the complete opposite for you. I'm actually gonna go through and I'm gonna list all of the meals that Chikara took offense to. On the second day, OPS has a Taco Bell salad. It's 580 calories. I said it before, I'll say it again. Just because it's from outside doesn't make it a bad choice. It's a good balanced meal from what I can see. The third day, Val got a meal from McDonald's so that she wouldn't go grocery shopping while hungry. She got spicy chicken strips and fries, 920 calories. It's not great, but once more, she acknowledges that even though she stayed under her calories, that it was not a smart decision. However, to not go shopping on an empty stomach was a pretty good decision.
But she pulled out this massive bag of like all these mini packs of crisps. And it's like, well, why do you need it? If you know that's a trigger food for you, just don't buy it. You don't have to have crisps in your house.
Chikara also mentioned that Val shouldn't be buying chips if they are a trigger food, but Val has never once mentioned that. That would be Chantal. Having small pre-portioned food is great for exercising portion control. It keeps you from mindlessly sitting there and snacking at you. The only other quote-unquote bad food in there was tortilla chips. So what? If she can eat them in moderation, then what does it even matter? Chikara said that this entire meal haul, Chikara said that the whole haul was carbo loading. I don't understand. The only real things that Val got that were carby, that were bad carbs, quote unquote, was the bag of chips and a bag of tortilla chips. Other than that, everything was fruits, veggies, and, good carbs. 2 potatoes, exactly, and Dave's bread, which is a very high fiber, satiating bread. So I am unsure where that term, the carbo loading, even came from. That's not what I see at all when I look at her meal. On the 4th day, she has a pumpkin spice latte and half a muffin. And she acknowledges that it's not great, but it is what it is. I think that's a very healthy attitude to have towards food. You understand that you messed up, you'll do better in the future, and you move on from it. Shaming what she's eating is not going to keep her from eating it. In fact, for someone who already has an eating issue, emotional eating problems, it might actually push them to eating more unhealthy stuff. So if your goal is to make sure that people aren't, I don't know, overeating, eating healthfully, and are generally doing better in their lives, you could be served much more by being kinder. So I look a little different, but I didn't get a chance to finish the whole video. This video is turning out to be a little bit of a beast. So different day, new look, same old me though. Were Val's days perfect? No, they were not perfect. They obviously could have been better. She could have eaten out less. She could have tried making stuff at home more. Absolutely. Agree with Chikara 100% there. But that doesn't mean that she did a bad job. It doesn't mean that it was an awful week. And more importantly, it shows that she's still trying, right? She's making incremental changes, and those incremental changes will hopefully add up to a lot more. This is greater than the sum of its parts. And more importantly, this is what's sustainable for her. Right now, this is what feels like the least difficult. And if she's making progress in the right direction, then I say all for it. Eventually, hopefully, once her health improves and she has more energy and she has the ability to cook and prep more stuff at home, maybe she can do that as well. But until then, this is much, much better than doing absolutely nothing.
But yeah, like I saw that food one. I'm like, no wonder you're not losing weight. You are, and also she's overeating also. If she's eating 1,800 calories a day at what, 300 pounds or 250 pounds or wherever she is, at 5'4", I'm guessing, average female height, I don't actually know. If she's not losing weight or only losing 3 pounds a month, that means that she's still overeating.
Once more, Chikara is not wrong, but I have to ask, is it better to do nothing if you can't do it perfectly? Because I think it's much better to do what Val is doing right now than it is to be stuck where Chantal is, forever in the contemplative stage and the planning stage of weight loss. I think that moving forward, making small incremental changes that hopefully add up to much more is great. And if she's only losing 3 pounds a month, then she's only losing 3 pounds a month, because that's still 36 pounds at the end of the year. That's 36 pounds that she will have no longer be putting on her joints. That's fantastic. 36 pounds is more than 10% of her total body weight. That could mean huge things for her in terms of her health.
It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me. I was watching and I'm like, how can anybody... Look, my clients mess up sometimes too, and it's normal. Like it's a journey, right? You shouldn't have enormously quick results super fast. But at the same time, it's like, I get people just to eat healthy and then like have a treat here and there. Or, you know, some people are like, oh, on these nights and these nights, I like to do certain things. Is it all right if I calculate that in? And it's like, yeah, we just make sure that you need to train yourself to eat healthy and whole food. And I can guarantee you all of that fast food is not going to taste nice.
I understand everyone should eat more whole foods. 100% agree with you on that. But whole foods aren't what's required to be healthy. You can actually eat a diet that isn't predominantly dependent on whole foods and still be healthy. Actually, I know a lot of people who do exactly this. There are currently people who don't have the ability to leave their houses. They're high risk or they're elderly and they can't go and shop as much as they would like. They don't have enough money to afford things like Instacart, grocery delivery services. So they will ask loved ones to every once in a while go pick up a massive amount of canned fruit, vegetables, rice, even some meat products and like lentils, beans, things like that, and then just eat that. Most of these foods would not be considered kosher under Whole Foods, but they're doing just fine. It's okay to not eat a diet that is Whole30 all of the time. If you have an eating disorder, listen to your doctor and your dietitian, because between the two of them, hopefully they'll be able to come up with an eating plan that's both physically keeping you satiated and keeping your body nourished, while at the same time ensuring that you don't spiral downwards mentally. You know, they want to minimize that as much as possible. And that might mean that you're making concessions that maybe they wouldn't make for other people. Second, no, that's not how hyper palatable foods work. There's never going to come a time when you're going to eat a bag of chips and think, oh, this is absolutely fine. I no longer want this anymore. Instead, I'm going to go have that apple I really liked. Not everyone will like every fast food. Some people might not like any fast food, but for the vast majority of people, fast food is going to taste yummy. Chips are going to taste yummy. You know, all of that garbage, it's going to be yummy. It is yummy. That's what it's literally designed to do at a chemical level. But with work from a therapist, you can minimize the emotional impact that those foods have on you. You can take away all of their emotional power and thus make it that you can appreciate that, hey, this is really tasty. And today I think I'll have one burger from McDonald's and just have that be it, instead of spiraling downwards and continuing to eat like garbage for the next 4 weeks.
Sometimes, but not all the time. I have a binge eating disorder and I control it by not buying junk food. Yeah, like it's easy to, I don't buy certain things for myself because of, sorry, stupid fly in here. I know that certain foods don't necessarily trigger me to binge. Like I don't really do binging anymore because I'm past that, but overeating. And I just don't buy those things because if they're in my house, I'm going to eat them.
Okay, I want you to notice something that Chikara says. She says she can't keep certain foods in the house. That makes perfect sense. There are such things as trigger foods. I think everybody has them to a certain degree, but the extent to which they trigger you varies from person to person. Now, if chips is your trigger food, like it is for, say, Chantel, you should not keep them in the house because they have a negative emotional impact on you that can lead to you overeating or binging or even just having other emotional responses to them. You know, it doesn't always have to be related to the food itself. So if that is what it is for you, you should not keep those foods in the house and you should not be eating them. But Val's never claimed that chips have a negative emotional impact on her. And just because chips are a trigger food for one person doesn't mean that chips are going to be a trigger food for every person. I can tell you for a fact, I have no problem eating small quantities of chips. Just not a very big fan of them. French fries I can't keep in the house. I don't make them and I cannot keep them because if I have them, I will eat the whole thing and I have zero control over myself. All I mean to say is trigger foods are highly personalized. Every person is going to have a different trigger food. Just because something triggers you doesn't mean that it will trigger the next person. So just because chips might trigger Chikara doesn't mean that they trigger Val.
I don't understand why a supposed dietitian would recommend having a bag of chips and a soda for a snack. I think the mentality around it is there's no bad food and you can't restrict. But if you have a problem with eating, as in overeating, you need to restrict because you're never going to lose weight otherwise. So the way I would probably do it, if somebody was like probably addicted to it, maybe be like, okay, well, every third day have like a small bag of crisps, but not every day. To me, it doesn't make sense. But then I'm not a dietitian, but then I am a bodybuilder. And guess what? I have dieted down to crazy, crazy low levels of body fat. And I'm helping people lose body fat too. So maybe I'm not a dietitian, but I know what's required to diet because I've done it many a times.
Anecdotes are not evidence. This is the last clip that she has, and I want everyone to understand this. God, I wish I could preach it from the rooftops. But anecdotal evidence is the weakest form of evidence that there is. This is why they don't consider it very highly when it comes to scientific endeavors. I, for example, can pull my arm out of its socket. I can also pop it right back in, and I feel zero pain. I cannot generalize that just because I can do that, every other person I come across is the same. Most people cannot pull their arms out of their socket and have it reinserted without any pain. Just because I can means absolutely nothing for the vast majority of people. And knowing what's required for you to diet is very different than knowing what's required for someone who has an eating disorder to lose weight. Just because you have experience with one personally doesn't make you an expert in eating disorders overall. And to claim as such and to present yourself as such and to provide advice to anybody as such does them a disservice. Because if anyone listens to that advice, you have no control over the outcomes that they could have because that advice is not individualized for them. And for eating disorders, this advice needs to be highly individualized for the person who's receiving it. So why did I make this video? Was it because I wanted to defend Charlie Gold and On Program Situation? Not really. I mean, I like them both just fine, but they're grown women. If they want to defend themselves, they can do it. I don't need to do that for them. Well, maybe I just don't like Chikara transformations then. Also not true. I actually think that she's a good person. I mean, from everything that I've seen of her, she seems to have her heart in the right place, and she seems to want better for people. That's really the hallmarks of a good person, I would say. The reason I wanted to make this video is because I want to talk to the audience that's watching her. And more importantly, I want to talk to the audience that's watching the vast majority of YouTube fitness gurus. They don't know your personal situation. They don't know what works for you. Only people who are working with you can do that. It doesn't matter what their credentials are. They can be doctors, lawyers, politicians, they can be, health coaches, they can be just people who've lived a clean, healthy diet their entire lives. It doesn't make them experts. The people who have seen you, who've seen your blood work, who've talked to you in person, they are the people who you should be relying on, people in your personal life. A parasocial relationship does not equate to personalized care. I want everyone to remember that small changes can lead to huge outcomes in the future. By changing little habits about yourself going forward, you can ultimately ensure that you get rid of a negative trait altogether. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Do what you can right now. Make the change right now and continue making changes as you move forward. Once something becomes a habit, once it's no longer hard for you to do. Don't jump into something head first. You don't know how deep the water is. So, remember, I am Jasmine, the sequel, and I'm just not relatable. Peace.